was evening when the European merchant arrived in Chang'an, China, the last stop on the Silk Road. He felt quite tired after the long journey. As he lay down on the ground and looked up at the sky, the brightest star caught his attention. There was something else that caught his attention. These must be migratory cranes. The merchant went to his room in the inn and opened the door with a large key. Right at the head of the bed, he saw a jade figurine in the shape of a dragon, which is believed to bring luck, abundance, health, and longevity in China. He could feel the crystal stone radiating energy into the room. The more valuable of the two types of jade is jadeite, sodium aluminum silicate, and the other is nephrite, calcium magnesium iron silicate. The most valuable jade stones are those with a glassy texture in bright emerald green tones. But there are many tones from blue to purple and ice white. Jadeite jade is considered more valuable. Another name for jade is Emperor Stone. In the Han Dynasty in China, the richest nobles were buried with dresses made of small jade stones. It was forbidden for the public to use this crystal. A Chinese proverb says, "Gold has value. Jade is priceless." Today, at an auction in Hong Kong, Neolithic period jade stones were sold for $23 million. According to a Chinese legend, a great dragon scattered seeds on the world, and these seeds turned into jade after freezing. The merchant, who came to this city regularly for trade, felt an uneasiness that he could not understand this time. He wanted to go to bed early since he was going to the market tomorrow. As he looked at the green jade dragon figurine in his room, his eyes became heavy and he fell asleep. The ancient Egyptian priest alchemist was rubbing his gold ring on his left hand while walking through the streets of the City of Jewels. He was walking towards the pyramid with his staff made of lapis lazuli stone, which was also very valuable in the Sumerians. At that time, the pyramids were covered with gold and precious stones. The Egyptian pyramids were dedicated to the Orion constellation and Sirius. The complex observation windows and air vents placed in the pyramid corridors looked at Orion, who was related to death and immortal life. He found the temple with the statues of Thoth with the head of an ibis bird. While meditating, he fell into a trance and asked Thoth, who appeared before him, where the book was. He only introduced himself and said that to find the book, he had to die before he died and read between the lines of life. "I am the one who descended from the heavens to Atlantis. In Egypt, I am Thoth, the messenger of Osiris, the master of writing and alchemy, known as the Wise. I am Ninjashida. In the Sumerians, I am the one who builds a bridge between the above and the below. I am Mergan Khan. In the Turks, I am the wise one who illuminates ignorance with the light of reason. In ancient Greece, I am the swift messenger of Zeus, the thrice wisdom-given Hermes Trismegistus. I am Mercury. In Rome, I am the one who carries the news of Jupiter everywhere, who gave the name to the mercury element, which is identified with immortality. I am Narada. In India, I am the musician sage who transcends time and travels through the worlds. I am Enoch, the immortal saint in the Torah. I am Idris, known as the Saint Taylor in Sufism. I am the Saint Khizr who transcends death and runs at the speed of light after drinking the eternal water, the fountain of life. I am Hushing in Iran. I am the one who bestows the iron of magma, the crop of the earth, the fire of the sun, illuminating the path for those who choose war or peace. I am Morpheus, the Lord of Illusion, who rules dreams that seem real. I am the time bender for parallel universes that take every shape and form in different bodies and minds. The merchant, who saw himself as an Egyptian alchemist in his dream, was suddenly awakened by loud explosions that scattered colorful lights in the sky. After the sparkle of the fireworks, a sharp burning smell spread around. This situation made the merchant completely forget his interesting dream. He had to find the formula for fireworks and sell them all over the world to become very rich. Inside the ceramic container in the Chinese alchemist's hand was a substance that looked calmly but lifelike, as if it was looking at him. The two elements that made up the blood-red cinnabar sprout known as dragon's blood were the double poles of duality in the universe. When he reached the furnace in the middle of the secret temple workshop in the forest, the intense heat of the bright fire suddenly burned his skin. The container, specially brought from the foothills of the volcano, suddenly cracked, and the cinnabar held in the container seemed to come to life. The alchemist delved into the past. He began to travel towards the work his ancestors had done in the depths of history. The Chinese alchemist had received an order from the first emperor to research the elixir of life recipes and firecracker formulas that would grant him immortality and protection. He felt a strange smell wafting around his secret workshop and a vibration coming from underground. He immediately threw the cinnabar he was holding in a cracked ceramic bowl into the large furnace and just looked after it. The dragon's blood was now right where it should be, right in the middle of the fire. The red cinnabar immediately began to transform under the high temperature of the fire. The compound was breaking down into its components, and the mercury vapor was forming a pure substance that was metallic in color and hard but shiny like fluid silver. The deadly substance associated with immortality had rejuvenated the alchemist. Another product of the work of separating cinnabar ore in his workshop was the non-metal sulfur element. Sulfur, which is yellow in its pure elemental form, reacts with air under suitable conditions to form hydrogen sulfide gas with the smell of rotten eggs. Since this gas was highly toxic and formed easily, it would be used as the first chemical weapon in the following years. The European merchant was surprised to see that the firecrackers were made in a ritualistic manner by alchemist priests. He had heard the terms elixir of life and philosopher's stone that the alchemists had been working on for centuries. Suddenly, he vaguely remembered his dream of being in the Golden Pyramid Temple in Egypt. But then he forgot it again. It was as if there was something floating around in his mind that prevented this. This information about life and spiritual transformation and development seemed like nonsense to him. His only concern was money. The secret formula of the cartridges could make him a fortune. The merchant, who learned the location of the alchemists by bribing the marketers, set out at dawn towards the secret temple workshop in the forest. As he walked towards the area where the workshops were located, the earth seemed to move under his feet. There was a different air in these lands, where he had come before this year. The works to unite the Great Wall of China, which had been built in parts by the order of the first Emperor Qin Shi Huang against the Turks and Mongols, had just been completed. The Chinese emperor was a cruel person who constantly sought power while taking precautions against his external enemies and putting very strict pressure on them internally. He destroyed those who could have shared the throne, one by one. He had burned all the books of ancient Chinese history, because he would write a history that only he had started. He would declare his divinity and start time. He should be immortal like his country China. He knew that a darkness followed him every night when he fell asleep. Holding his empty glass in his hand, he went out to the balcony of the palace and began to look towards the setting red Sunday. He raised his glass to the presence of the sun and visualized taking a sip of the liquid that would change his destiny. He was tired from lack of sleep as he turned his head and looked at his own mausoleum where his workers were working. He was constantly afraid of death. He thought that the great army he had established with the elixir of life and the latest technological weapons would protect him and his legacy. The Chinese alchemist woke up from a dream in which he saw the work of his alchemist ancestors in the depths of history. While he was making mercury from cinnabar ore and the elixir of immortality from it, he felt very old. His memory had also weakened, and he had begun to have muscle, stomach, and kidney problems. There was a bitter metallic taste in his mouth. He heard a stranger approaching. The European merchants saw the alchemist priests working with white matter. The symbols of the snake dragon biting its own tail in the corners of the temple workshop caught his attention. Ouroboros. The complementarity of opposites in Tao, the intertwining of yin and yang. Life and death are two sides of a stream, one could not exist without the other. Just like the universe expands and collapses again with dark energy. The beginning and the end are one. Quantum entanglement. Remote ghost interaction. Two similar things are synchronized with each other. They can transform, but they never lose their essence. They are always in interaction regardless of distance and time. As Mercury, Hermes said, "As above, so below." Ouroboros's ring would never break. The only way to break this cycle The merchant introduced himself as a traveler searching for the meaning of life and made plans to get secret information and formulas from the alchemists. While he was lying, he saw a crane bird looking at him from afar. Saltpeter, potassium nitrate, is a substance used in the production of fertilizers and fireworks, which are white crusts that naturally occur in rocks. Its structure changes as the temperature increases. Although it reacts explosively with reducing substances, it does not have explosive properties on its own. It plays a role as an oxidizer in the composition of black powder. The sky suddenly darkened. From what he could see through the open door, the alchemists were mixing different powders in certain proportions and compressing them into a bamboo tube. He had found the substance he had seen in the sky at night when he first arrived in the city. Fireworks. After the frightening sound, everyone went to the other room in the workshop. He heard an alchemist use this exploding firework to drive away the darkness. The other alchemists told the merchant to leave here. The merchant had already taken the scattered papers into his pocket. He quietly left the workshop and headed towards the city center. The cunning merchant dreamed of how he would make a fortune by selling the formulas and knowledge of immortality alchemy to the Turkic Khagans, Mongol Khans, Persian Shahs, Arab emirs, and European kings and feudal lords. He had completely forgotten that dream now. As he left Chang'an, the beginning of the Silk Road, he was walking on the hidden soldier statues underground. It was as if the sound of death and eternal life and the muffled breathing of the emperor and his soldiers were coming from under the ground. The hands of the emperor and his thousands of armored warriors were alert on the most powerful weapons of the time, and their eyes were fixed on a single point. Weeks passed. Months, years passed. Time was flowing like water. The emperor and his alchemist were poisoned by mercury, lost their mental functions and died on their way to immortality, and never woke up from their sleep. The merchant had many inventions that would change history in his bag on the Silk Road journey. Along with the jade crystals, mercury-filled containers, spices, silk fabrics, and saltpeter sacks, rats with fleas were also guests. He did not know that he was carrying with him the epidemic microbe of the disease that would be called the Dark Death that would kill millions of people in Europe in the years to come. The darkness was silently floating with the merchant from the first stop of the Silk Road towards the steppes of Central Asia.